All right, today we are talking about how to use your next album or EP release to turn new listeners into raving fans. Who doesn't want that, right? Without missing crucial steps in the process. And I am going to go over like what all those steps are because there are a lot, but we don't have to worry about missing those because I'm going to show you how they all fit together. So this training is for you. You are in the right place if you are planning to release an album, EP, or single in the next 2 years. So if you're here, you probably know that you're wanting to release something at some point. So you are going to learn stuff today that is going to help you get you set up for success there. And you're in the right place if like in the past, you've put a ton of time and money into past releases and didn't generate the buzz or income that you expected. Or maybe in the past, you invested a lot of money creating an album or EP and then didn't know what to do to capitalize in it, so it kind of fell flat. You hear that a lot. Oh, I put my album out there and I heard crickets. Don't want that for you. You're also in the right place if in the past you hired PR agents, radio promoters, and playlist pluggers for big bucks, but the results didn't match the expense. And finally, you're in the right place if you haven't ever released music before, but you want to know how to do it the right way. That is what this training is all about. So if any of those describe you, you are in the right place. Want to let you know as well, if you stay to the end, we have a really cool bonus opportunity for action takers. It is my Rock Your Next Release single program. So it's for people, if they're just looking to release a single, this is something that is going to be a special bonus for action takers. Okay, so I like to start off my workshops with a fun contest. So let's say we've got this cool contest, right? These people standing here are from this organization that really love supporting artists and they want to give the artist who turns the most listeners into raving fans who support them. They want to give that person a blank check to pay for their entire release. How amazing would that be? So all you have to do is get a bunch of new listeners to your music and then nurture them and turn them into fans. And then even some of those fans will probably support you monetarily. So that's how someone will win this contest. Whoever gets the most actual fans from their release. So we have 2 contestants in this contest. We have Olivia. So Olivia gets right to work. She doesn't like the planning part. It's not fun to her. She just wants to get in the studio and start recording. She loves recording and she comes out of the studio with a masterpiece, but then she realizes she's like only 2 weeks out from the date that she planned to release, and she has no marketing plan. She has no money to market it, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. Yet, our other contestant, Brooke doesn't really like planning either. She also loves the recording, but she decides to take the time to map everything out in advance and figure out how much money she's going to have to spend, who she's going to need to bring on her team to help her. And even though she really loves the recording part and stuff, she realizes that she needs to focus also on the marketing. And so even though it makes her uncomfortable to work on the marketing side, she does it anyway. And she comes up with a plan because she embraces it and figures out how she's going to be able to get this new release to new people, to be heard by new people who might become new fans to her. So who do you think is going to win this contest? Olivia, who I like to call Overwhelmed Olivia, or there's Brooke, big picture Brooke, who sees that it's not just about getting a great recording, but it's about the big picture of how you're going to get that recording heard by more people, because it doesn't matter how amazing your recording is if nobody hears it and if you don't turn listeners into fans. So I like to say that I am Bree. I turn the Olivias of the world into the Brooks of the world. I want you to have that kind of success like Brooke, who I think we can all agree is going to win this contest, right? So a little bit of how I got where I am now. I'm a musician just like you, and I released 3 albums along the way. And while also touring with releasing albums and all that goes along with that, building my fan base, I also started an online radio station called Women of Substance Radio. And while doing that, it's actually still going on today. We have a podcast. We're on episode like, I don't even know, 1250 or something like that. So while I was working with Women of Substance, I met hundreds of artists, potentially even thousands of artists that are like Overwhelmed Olivia. They had amazing music. They had put their heart and soul into what they had created, but they had no idea how to get it out there. I was literally the first person that ever played their music. And I'm like, how can this be? This music is so good. I don't understand. And they're like, well, you know, I don't have a label, and that's the only way I know to get my music out there. And I'm like, no, no, no. You know, I was an independent. I know how to do this. And so it just hurt me to see all these amazing artists not getting their music heard, not building their fan base. And that is how the Rock Your Next Release framework was born. So the Rock Your Next Release framework is what allowed me to sell out my first 1,000 CDs and be able to buy more. I'm still selling those. It also allowed me to build my artist email list to 1,300 engaged fans as an artist. And in my business now, I've built it to way more than that. But as an artist, that's where I got to. It allowed me to recoup the costs of my holiday CD when I released that right up front, because I had built this list of raving fans that wanted it. Like before it was even out there, I had made all my money back on creating the CD because I did a pre-order campaign. It allowed me to get featured in magazines, radio interviews, and 2 local covers of the Orange County Register. And they're not the like full-on Orange County Register, but like the city local covers. It was still cool. I was on the cover, right? Big, huge picture. They came to my house, all that stuff, all doing my own PR, by the way. It also allowed me to hold profitable release parties. I held them in person and I held them online, and also to book countless album support tours all over California. And I even went to Oregon one time. So this is how I was able to generate income from my fans, get new listeners, turn those into raving fans, and then generate income from those. So it is an amazing cycle. So this has helped hundreds of artists just like you and just like Olivia ditch the Overwhelmed Olivia approach for good and start using their release to turn new listeners into raving fans and monetary supporters. So this is what I want to show you today, the Rock Your Next Release framework. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the 3 big mistakes that I see artists making around releasing music. And if we don't deal with these big mistakes, you're not going to be able to use the Rock Your Next Release framework well. So I want to go through these first before I show you the framework. So the first mistake is thinking that fan base building happens after the release instead of during. So there is a very good reason that you might think this, and that I thought this for a long time, and that actually was this way for a long time until the music business changed. The old non-digital release model was set up such that the album or EP release was the beginning of the promotional process, but that's not the case anymore. In the new music industry, your release offers a season of promotional opportunities. The journey toward the full release offers months of ways to connect with fans. And I'll show you how we do that in the process. Months of opportunities before you actually get to the full-on release. But in the old model, it relied on radio to promote singles and drive sales of the album or EP after the release. So you would release the full album, and then they would start releasing these radio singles. And this is what it looks like. So they'd release the full album, and then they'd release radio single number 1. And then that would lead to some people, oh, I like that song. I heard that song on the radio. I like it. Okay. But was that enough to get them to buy the album? Maybe not, because they're like, what if I hate all the other songs on the album? So they won't go buy it. So then they release radio single number 2. And they're like, okay, I like this song. And then if they also like this one, that might be enough to drive them to buy the album. But maybe somebody liked this song and not this one, so it might not be enough. And then radio single number 3. Okay, now if somebody liked all of these, maybe then they would go and buy the album. But maybe not. Maybe they just heard this one, or they just liked this one. So it was like leaving a lot of money off the table, because if these people didn't hear these other singles, or maybe they only liked one of them, they might not go and buy the album. And it was all happening after the release of the album. But in the new streaming model, singles can attract new fans and create anticipation. So you put your singles out there, and then you might be able to get them on an editorial or private playlist that's going to attract new listeners that might not know about you because they subscribe to that playlist. Or maybe, you come up when they're looking at other artists, and the algorithm is like, oh, well, if they like this artist, then they might like you. And that's how we're playing into the algorithms in the new music business. In the new streaming model, in the social media era, singles can be used as marketing vehicles before the album release to attract new followers. So every time you release a single, it's like a totally new marketing vehicle that's going to bring in new fans. And that's leading up to the album instead of after the album release. So you can use video content, ads, PR, blogs, podcasts, and radio to promote all of these singles and drive them to, become more connected with you, whether they follow you on Spotify, they get on your email list, they get on your socials, and then you can keep communicating with them more as you get closer to the album release. And in the new streaming model, singles can build momentum for physical pre-orders. So like I said, I was able to run a pre-order campaign, and that was even without singles because I was doing a holiday CD. But if I was doing a full CD, having those singles out there as like bait to bring the people in that are going to like your music and get them connected with you, that is going to help you be able to get them excited about your full release coming out and run a pre-order campaign and actually be able to sell it in advance. So this is how it works in the new music industry. So we release a single, and then these people like it. And that means they probably will follow us on Spotify. They're going to stream, which is going to signal to Spotify, oh, they like this artist. So if something comes up from that artist later, let's let them know about it. And then, maybe that would drive them to buy some things, downloads, or they'll go to your website. But then you release single number 2. Now, these people up here that listen to single number 1, they're going to be told about this one because that's what the Spotify algorithm does. Even if they don't follow you, Spotify is going to be like, oh, well, they liked this person in the past. We're going to tell them about this new song. And so these people actually increase. And then when you do your third single, these people are all added together because Spotify or any other streaming service will keep letting them know about your new music because they're like, oh, you've signaled that you like this artist. So let's let them know when something new comes up. because what the streaming platforms are in the business of doing is providing people what they want to hear so they stay on longer. So this is a way that, Spotify and the other streaming platforms do this for you for free. It's like free marketing. So that is mistake number one. Just remember that in the new music business, singles are there to help you market toward your album instead of doing it afterward. Number two, focusing on only one aspect of the release strategy at a time. So in the old model, if you were with a label, there were departments for all of this stuff, right? There were departments that handled everything from fulfillment, development, booking, recording, like marketing, all of that. But in the new music industry, you are all of those departments, right? You're an indie artist. You don't have all of these support systems. So you have to juggle multiple balls in the air all at the same time during the release process. Because if you don't, you might miss out on something important. And that's what I hear all the time. That's why people don't release music, because they feel so overwhelmed. They know that they have to fill all of these seats. They have to wear all of these hats. They don't have the support of a label. And so, they just get so overwhelmed that they don't do it. But I get it, because that's what this looks like, right? Here are all of these 8 areas that I've called out that are involved around releasing a project. And oh my gosh, like it seems super overwhelming when you look at this, right? How can I possibly keep all those balls in the air? And I'm going to show you how you can with the Rock Your Next Release framework. But before I do, I want to point out what happens if you don't keep all these in the air at once. There are potential missed opportunities. The first one is asset gathering for marketing must be done during the recording process. This is one I see that people miss a lot. And I almost did. When I was in the studio, I think I came out with 4 pictures. My head wasn't in the marketing game at that point. I was focused on being a recording artist. And as you should enjoy your time in the studio. But you do need to be thinking about this and bring someone on board to help you, to assist you in getting these marketing assets. You're going to want to grab pictures and videos, and you're going to want to intentionally journal about what happened in the studio so you can write stuff about it later. If you don't capture this, you can't go back. So that's number one. Potential missed opportunity number 2 is submitting to be considered for Spotify editorial playlists. I haven't talked much about this yet, but these playlists are playlists that are curated by Spotify themselves. And you can only submit to them when you are doing a release. And you can only submit 1 song per release. That is one reason we do singles. 3 singles I recommend before we get to the actual full project coming out. Because every time you release a single, you can submit that to Spotify editorial. If you just throw your album out there, you only get 1 song that you can submit to Spotify editorial. And let me tell you, like, it is hard to get on these, but if you get on one of these playlists, you get hundreds of thousands of streams. I have heard of artists getting, other playlists because of being on these, getting featured on media and all this stuff because of getting onto a Spotify editorial playlist. So you want to increase your chances of that happening, but you only get to do it. You can't go back and do it later. You have to do it while you're releasing, and only 1 song per release. Potential missed opportunity number 3, using singles as a promotional vehicle. As I've mentioned before, we've got this 3 single lead up to the full release. And I believe that that is really the sweet spot. Some people say, why don't I just do all singles? I just think that you'd be totally burnt out if you did that. I think 3 is kind of the magic number here. Otherwise, you're going to be in launch mode all the time. And nobody wants to be in launch mode all the time, trust me, because it's exhausting. So That's why we use these 3 singles to get the opportunity for Spotify editorial, and also to use them as promotional vehicles to bring those people into our world. Get on other playlists, maybe some curated, individual, private curated playlists. Potential missed opportunity number 4, building a tour around your album or EP release. Now, I realize tours don't look the same right now as they used to, but you can still tour. I have students that are touring on a limited basis. They are doing, smaller shows. They're doing like 2 shows instead of 1 at a location so they can, have reduced capacity. I have people doing online tours where they're connecting with venues and promoting to their audiences as an online event. So, it's not the traditional way anymore, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. And it doesn't mean it's not super powerful for promoting what you're doing, as well as getting new fans and actually making some money. Potential missed opportunity number 5, raising money throughout the release process. So as you're going through this process, there are ways that you can actually make money along the way. You can do a crowdfunding campaign, and I don't mean a big complicated one. I mean a small, very targeted one, 30 days, just giving those people that do want to support you the chance to support you. If you don't do it and you think about it later, it's too late. There's opportunities for sponsorships. There's opportunities, like I said, to do a pre-order campaign, but you need to plan all this out in advance. Potential missed opportunity number 6, physical CD and merch sales. So I see a lot of people still that think, oh, nobody's buying CDs. I'm just going to release everything digitally. And I did a survey recently in one of my groups and asked everybody, are you still selling CDs? And they said, absolutely. I might be selling them a little bit differently. I might be selling more full discographies or fan bundles where you're bundling a CD with some merch, but people still buy them because they want to support artists. And so don't miss out on this income stream. Like I said, pre-orders are great. And then merch, definitely, merch is doing very well right now. And potential missed opportunity number 7, digital sales and distribution. So I also have people in my audience that have been recording for so long that they haven't even gotten on the digital platforms yet. And if that's you, it is time to jump into the digital world, because there is so much opportunity, like I mentioned, with playlists and algorithms and free marketing that all of these streaming platforms basically do for you to put you in front of new people. You don't want to miss out on that. So that is number 7. So that mistake, remember, is trying to, only focusing on one area at a time. You can't do that because then you lose track of all the other areas. But it's overwhelming, right? So this mistake, we're going to talk about how to make that not so overwhelming. So mistake number 3 is not creating a timeline-based plan for the season of releases. So don't try to keep up with multiple project timelines. You actually need to create an all-inclusive plan. So imagine this. Like we saw those balls in the air, right? Now imagine that we had a armful of watches, 8 different watches, and all of them are on a different time zone. Man, I can't even imagine. I've got students in so many different time zones, and I try to keep track of what time it is for them versus what time it is for me. It is mind-blowing. Australia is completely different from the Philippines, which is completely different from Europe, which is different from East Coast. So imagine that each of these 8 areas is on a different timeline, and you're trying to keep track of them all at the same time. You can't do that on 8 different timelines. You need to have one timeline to rule them all, so you don't lose track of anything. So you don't have to look at 8 different watches at the same time. You can have one universal watch that constantly is keeping up with all of them. So an all-inclusive timeline-based plan will guarantee that you don't miss out on any of those 7 potential missed opportunities that I just talked about. It will also allow you to confidently outsource and delegate. So this is really important. You know, as I mentioned in the contest section with Brooke, she realized she couldn't do or didn't want to do all the things, even though she knew they had to be done. So she figured that she could find someone to help her, that she could, bring someone on her team that could do some of the things that she didn't want to do. But you have to know what all the things are that you need to do and when you need to do them so you can figure out how to outsource that stuff. And then this helps you stay organized and sane, right? So being able to check items off of a list that you make that's based on a timeline is going to make it so much easier to make sure you don't miss any of those crucial opportunities, any of those crucial steps in the process. So, do you want to use your next release to turn new listeners into raving fans without missing crucial steps in the process? Yes or no? Let us know in the chat, because I am about to teach you the Rock Your Next Release framework. So these are those 8 areas that I mentioned. You know, we've got our product that we're creating. We've got all the promotional things we need to do. And then these big areas of planning and profit. So how are we going to organize these in a way that is going to keep us sane, that's going to give us a one timeline to rule them all? So this is how the Rock Your Next Release framework works. We have our planning time. We have our pre-launch time. We have our launch time. And then we get to enjoy the spoils of everything that we've done. So when I say profit, I don't just mean money. I mean, did we grow our fan base? Did we turn listeners into actual fans? Did we get new listeners that didn't know about us before? Because fans are assets, and fans can, as they become raving fans, start to support us in a monetary way. So I think of all of that as profit. So let's break this down. Step 1 is the plan. So when we don't plan, what happens? Well, we leave our results up to chance, and that sucks, right? We don't want to leave our results up to chance. We want to be in control of the situation. We use hope marketing. Have you heard that term before? It means like throwing spaghetti at the wall, like let's try this and let's try this. And, every morning I get up and I think, what else can I do to promote my release? That is not a plan. And that is not going to give you the results that you want. It is not a strategy. We become reactive instead of proactive. We risk missing out on the 7 opportunities that I mentioned before. We do things out of order and miss crucial steps. So that's a big thing that I hear from my students. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to miss something important and it's all going to fall flat because I didn't do this one thing. But if you plan, that won't happen because you know exactly what to do when. And then if we don't plan, we don't have enough time to enjoy the process. And this is important. I want to drive this home. You are creating something amazing. You're creating a piece of art. And you want to enjoy the process of putting that out into the world. A lot of people liken this to like birthing your artistic baby, and you want to enjoy that process. You don't want to come out of it afterward and feel like, oh, man, that was a letdown, or you're so frazzled and so frustrated that you didn't enjoy any of the process. So that is why planning is so crucial. So here's the planning process. First, we come up with that all-inclusive timeline that I talked about. You figure out, you reverse engineer, I recommend releasing singles 1 month apart on the way to your full release. So you move backwards from that. Okay, from when I release my first single, how much time do I need to get my recording done, to get my mixes done, to get my distribution set up, all that stuff that I'll show you in the pre-launch phase. How long is that going to take me? Okay, that's when I need to start. Okay, this is when I'm going to do my release. And so you plan that all out so you're not surprised and you're not thrown for a loop if something gets out of whack. You can just readjust your plan. Then you look into here, okay, who can I bring onto my team to help me? And it doesn't have to be some expensive PR agent, radio promoter, manager, any of that stuff. You can bring on interns, students, VAs, like virtual assistants, all of that to help you with these things and just execute your plan. And then we make the budget. So the budget is important because you want to know, okay, how much is it going to cost me to record this? How much budget am I going to set aside for marketing? How much do I need to spend on people to help me? That's why we needed to figure this part out first. And then how much do I think I'm going to make? Like, if I make this merch, how much do I think I can sell? If I do, these kinds of tours, how much money can I bring in? And it doesn't have to be an exact science, but just at least getting ballpark measurements is going to make you feel so much more in control of the process. And then right before you launch, at the end of the pre-launch phase, you're going to go back and you're going to look over your entire project again and update it. You're going to be like, okay, is this timeline really going to work? Do I need to change this a little bit? Do I need to give myself a little more time because the mixing took longer than I thought, or I had a family emergency or whatever? And then readjust your budget, because then you know how much have you spent in the studio. Did you stay within budget? Did you do a crowdfunding campaign and bring in some money? Do you have any sponsors for your project? All of that. That will help you to readjust everything right before you go into the launch phase. So that is how the planning phase works. If you leave the success of your release up to chance, you'll neglect crucial steps and end up regretting missed opportunities. I don't want that for you. I hear that from so many artists. They're like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have known more before I jumped into this process. I want you to avoid that. You want to put at least as much effort and care into the release process as you did writing and recording the music. You want to honor your talent and artistic vision. This is so important. I know most of you don't love the marketing part, but it's just as important as the creation part. And that's why if you don't love the marketing part, you might need a little bit of help. You might need to bring some help on. You might need to, really dig into this framework and do the planning so well that you can just execute and you don't have to think. So I want to introduce you to one of my students, Camille. She said that she actually moved her release date after learning about the Rock Your Next Release framework to make sure that she had enough time to do it right, because she wanted to really do her art justice. And she'd experienced in the past how that didn't happen. How when she released, she just didn't plan, didn't have a marketing plan, all of that, and she just heard crickets. And it was such a bummer because she had put so much work into her music, and her music is fantastic. I've played it on my podcast many times. And she just loved the way that our system has checklists and timelines and administrative helps that really kept her on track. And then this is the coolest story, Karen. So Karen said because she did her planning, because she did her budgeting and all that stuff we just talked about, she actually attracted an anonymous donor, which made her able to up her game. She was able to even increase her budget because she showed that she was so organized and was on top of everything and knew what she was doing, that made someone say, wow, I really want to invest in this project. So you never know what will happen. It's just like that contest in the beginning, right? You know, if you're organized, if you see the big picture, if you plan, you will win. All right, the pre-launch phase. So when we don't follow the plan during the pre-launch, what will happen? Well, we don't set up our launch for success. First of all, that's pretty obvious, right? But we might drop the ball in several of the 8 areas that I showed you before. We might end up scrambling and can't focus on nurturing our fans and taking advantage of opportunities that come up during our launch, because we're constantly playing catch up. We're like, not just executing everything that we did in the pre-launch because we didn't get it done. And so we're always playing catch up, we're distracted, and we're not able to really fully focus during the launch and take advantage of that launch pad period. Also, we jeopardize the entire timeline, because if we don't have our pre-launch assets ready, we get into launch mode, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't release these singles when I said I would because I don't have my distribution set up. I don't have, I can't do my release party when I said I would because I don't have the release party venue set up. I don't have any volunteers to help me. I don't have an opening band. Whatever it is that you need to do the things that you want to do during your release, if you haven't worked these all out in your pre-launch phase, you're going to be up a creek and you're going to have to completely change your timeline. So here is what the pre-launch phase looks like. So obviously first we're doing the recording, right? This is me in the recording studio. That is the fun part. I don't have to encourage any of you to do this. This is what we love, right? But we do have to really stay on top of those engineers to make sure that they are getting everything done in a timely manner, that we're getting our mixes, we're getting our masters on time, so we can do the things that we need to do here, which is setting up our digital release stuff, whatever digital platform you use. I love CD Baby myself, but all of these work. You need to have your mixes in order to set up all of these release dates in there so you can execute them on time. You need to have your actual master in order to get your CD, duplicated and all of that stuff, so you are ready to go for your release party, your pre-order, all of that stuff. And then during the pre-launch phase, a big thing that people don't do that I say is crucial is doing your research. So there's a lot of areas that you're going to want to deploy during the launch phase that you need to do all the research for, so you don't have to do the research during the launch phase. For example, what are all the venues that you want to reach out to so you can do, album support tours or album support performances? What are all of the radio stations, Spotify playlists that you want to, even like PR outlets, blogs, podcasts, all of that stuff that you want to reach out to once your singles are out to see if they would be willing to feature you? You don't want to have to be scrambling for this research when it's go time. So do your research during the pre-launch phase. And then get all of your marketing assets ready. So emails, social media posts, when are you going to put these out? Get a timeline for your marketing all around your single releases and your full release. And then later I'll show you, we talk about a video release after the whole project is out. You need to plan out this marketing, and not just plan it, but do it, write it, create the videos, all the things that you're going to do to support it. You don't want to have to do that during the launch, because launch is busy, right? You want to be out in front of your people. You want to be talking about all these amazing songs that you've put out. You don't want to have to be thinking about, what am I going to put on social media today? You just go grab that post, put it out. Grab that post, put it out. So that's what the pre-launch phase is all about, creating your assets. So if we don't use the pre-launch period to prepare all of the assets, like I mentioned, all of that stuff, then your launch will lose steam because you'll be distracted. Like I said, you'll be always playing catch up because you didn't create this stuff in advance. Also, you have one chance to make the most of this launch. This is what I hear from so many people. I wasn't prepared, and when I put it out there, I just wasn't thinking this is my chance, my one chance. I thought I had all this time. Well, stuff is only new for so long. You've got to jump on that train as it is going. You can't restart the train later. So you've got one chance for your launch. Don't wing it. Have all of your assets ready. So this is Athena, and Athena was already she was already into the pre-launch phase when she started using this framework, but she was stuck in overwhelm. She was just she was spinning her wheels. She felt like she could never launch because she didn't think that she could ever get everything into place. And she said the Rock Your Next Release framework really helped her know exactly what she needed to get into place so she could actually launch. And then this is Oscar. So Oscar, he loved the framework because it helped him be relaxed that he wasn't going to miss something important. And whenever he felt doubtful about whether he could actually do everything that he needed to do to launch, he could rest assured in this framework. And it really helped him get serious and not just throw stuff out there and hope that it landed, but have a strategy for it. Okay, this is the exciting part. This is the launch phase. So when we don't follow the proper launch sequence, what happens? Well, nothing good. I can tell you that. But we can't use singles as marketing vehicles. You cannot go release singles after the album is out. That train has left the station. That is not how it works with streaming. It's the opposite, just like I talked about in that section where I talked about mistake number 1. You have to release the singles as a precursor to the album, and you can use them to bring people along the journey with you. Pick up people. I keep using this train analogy, but pick up people at the stops. Each single is a stop. You pick up more people. And when you get to your destination, you have a train full of people, right? So you've got to do it this way. Otherwise, you can't take advantage of singles. Also, if you don't follow this sequence, you can't take advantage of the Spotify algorithm. Remember how I showed you how it picks up people along the way? It says, oh, these people like this artist. I'm going to keep showing more of this artist. We can't take advantage of that. And when I say Spotify, I'm talking about pretty much all streaming. That's how that all works. I just use Spotify because that's the one that I use. Also, we fail to capitalize on PR opportunities. Because we do our research during the pre-launch phase, when our singles come out, we can just deploy. We can just be reaching out to all these PR agencies, all these blogs, all these podcasts, and ask them if they would be willing to feature our song. Give them a reason. Talk about the theme of the song, how it fits in with your story and all of that stuff. Also, we miss out on pre-order opportunities. Like I said with mine, I was able to put my holiday CD out having already paid for it. That was so exciting, right? And then we miss out on fan base building and revenue and buzz from release parties and performances, including the merch that you can make money on at performances. So if you tried to just put your album out and then you're okay, now I'm going to book some tours, you can't do that because it takes a while, right? You guys know about booking. You can't just reach out to a venue and like, sure, come over tomorrow and do a show. No, you have to do it far in advance. You have to be working it. You have to be calling them back, lots of follow-up. Their schedule might be full, for the next 3 months. You have to do it do the research during the pre-launch phase, and then during the launch phase, you're reaching out to all of these venues. So this is like a crazy chart. I love this because it shows how everything works together. So you're releasing these singles. Let's see if I can point with my arrow. We're releasing these singles here. Now, when you release the singles, what does it do? It leads to getting more exposure on Spotify through potentially, playlists that you can get on, through Spotify showing your songs to other people that might like similar artists. It also will, of course, eventually lead to people buying your album. I didn't even draw this line, but they're going to, eventually lead to some press. Also, of course, your album leads to the press. And then, these all lead to each other. So like if you book some tours, then you can get press from that. And then your press can also get you tours. If you get press, that can get people to your Spotify, your release parties. If you do, if you release the video, like I mentioned, after a few months after your full release, then that can get you press and start this cycle all over again. So you can see how this all works together to help you create like a synergistic circle that's expanding outward, getting new listeners, getting new fans, and creating new supporters. So with a full 6-month launch period, which means 3 months before to release our singles, and then 3 months after to keep building the buzz once you release, to do your performances, to support your full release, to put out a video to even, bring more people into your world around your music. It is going to really allow you to stay top of mind without being repetitive. This is so important. You don't want to just constantly being like, hey, buy my album, but that gets super boring. You have to have ways to talk about your music without saying the same thing over and over. And releasing singles, releasing a video, doing all this other support around your album allows you to do that. And when I say album, I mean album or EP. EPs are just a smaller version of an album. This launch sequence allows you to take full advantage of the algorithms on social media and Spotify to attract listeners, turn them into followers, then raving fans, and then buyers. So that's why I say the profit is not just in actual dollars, but it's in the fans that you gain because they represent future profit for you. So this is Sarah, and Sarah was also in the pre-launch phase when she started, and she realized that there was a lot of things around the marketing that she needed to create. And if she hadn't have done that, she would have not gotten a lot of the opportunities that she did. So she's very thankful that she took advantage of the pre-launch phase, because when she did the launch phase, she got a lot of great opportunities. And then this is Gia. So Gia says that Bree has everything laid out step by step. I love that because I'm such a big step-by-step person. She said, I knew exactly when to release everything. I had everything on a timeline. I knew when to do my video and, how the promotional process worked. So she wasn't stressing out during the launch period. She was just like, deploy, deploy, deploy. I know exactly what I'm doing. So the destination for all of this, like I said, is profit. Profit in new listeners, new fans, and new monetary supporters. So to remind you, these are the 8 areas that you need to keep in mind when you're releasing an album or EP. And this Rock Your Next Release framework, these phases, the plan, pre-launch, launch, and then destination profit, is what you need in order to make sure that you don't miss out on all of those opportunities that I mentioned. So if you take anything away from this training, I want you to know that you can confidently plan and execute your next release to attract new listeners, turn them into fans without missing crucial steps in the process. So the real question is, are you going to stay stuck like overwhelmed Olivia, or are you going to employ the Rock Your Next Release framework and be big picture Brooke? The big question is, how can you apply the Rock Your Next Release framework so you can avoid dropping the ball on anything in the 8 different focus areas without feeling overwhelmed? It is time for you to make a big splash with your next release by attracting new listeners and turning them into fans, and not look back after it's over with regret about missed promo and income opportunities. It is time for you to follow a timeline-based blueprint that takes the guesswork out of releasing your next album or EP. So if you are ready to do that, I want to invite you into the Rock Your Next Release program. It is now open for enrollment. I am so thrilled about this program. I'm so thrilled about the results that I've seen from the students that ever since I've been running this program. And I just want to give you a bird's eye view of what is in the Rock Your Next Release program. So it is a complete timeline-based blueprint integrating every step in the Rock Your Next Release framework, including all 8 focus areas that I mentioned. It is video-based training taught by myself and also select industry experts for each step. So I brought in some of my friends that are experts in some of these areas to enhance what I was already teaching. So for example, I brought in my friend Greg from Musician Monster and Music Brand to talk about branding, because that is definitely not my expertise, but it's a very important aspect of creating your release. And so he talks about how to figure out what your brand should be as an artist, how to, show that on your album, how to create albums and singles that work together with the branding, all of that stuff. I brought in my friend Mike Warner to talk about Spotify playlists. He works for Chartmetric, and also Work Hard, Playlist Hard is his book. He talks about everything you need to know about Spotify playlists, how to get on editorial playlists, how to make sure that your releases are set up for success and you can actually get considered for the editorial playlist and all of that stuff. So anything you ever wondered about Spotify, he covers that. I brought in my friend Angela Mastrogiacomo from Muddy Paw PR to talk about press releases and getting digital PR. I brought in my friend and coach in my academy, Tara B, to talk about release parties. And then all the other training I provide. And so I make sure that every single base is covered in these 8 different areas. We also have checklists for each month of your 3-step release process to print out to keep you on track. So I personally am one of those people that loves checking things off lists. I love having a list in front of me and to know, what are the things I need to get done, get them done, check them off. Feels really exciting to me. So that is why I created this way. So you don't have to look at the entire project at once. It's super overwhelming. But if you've got it broken down and what you need to do in what order, and you just check those off, then you are good to go. Also included some awesome bonuses that I'm super excited about. So we talked about your marketing assets in the pre-launch phase. I wanted to make these so much easier for you, and that's why I created a complete 7-month social media and email plan with suggested themes and post copy to support your complete launch phase. So you don't have to start from scratch on all of these. Obviously, I don't know your release. I can't describe your release, but I give you prompts, I give you starters for all of the posts and emails that you need, when you should put them out, and all of that. So you're never starting from scratch. If you're like me, like I hate a blank page. Give me a starter, something that's started for me, and I am off to the races. And so I try to create my courses in a way that, this is what I would want if I was buying a course. Also, I wanted to give you customizable and planning spreadsheets and budget spreadsheets, because I wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed to get through the planning phase, because that is so, so important. So we've got a full project plan that you can customize however you want. It's all set up on a spreadsheet, and also budget set up on spreadsheets as well. So you just plug in your numbers. I also created your research documents because I harped on the fact that research is so important. I wanted you to have the documents that you need that were already started, so you could just start doing your research. You didn't have to build a system. So I created research and tracking sheets for PR, radio, and Spotify playlists for you to do all your research so you can just deploy during the launch phase. And then complete tour booking system for research, tracking, and follow-up. So this is also a fully built out system for you to just start going out and getting some bookings for your support performances, whether those are online or offline. And then we also now have one live Q&A call each month where we're only talking about releases. And you can ask any questions that you've come up with along the way throughout the course, anything that you're stuck on, anything that you want my opinion on, anything you want the other people in the course's opinion or input on. If you want us to look at your artwork or anything like that, that's what these calls are for. And they've been so fun to do. They're very well attended, and I know you will absolutely love them. And of course, we have all the replays. And then remember how I mentioned that fast action bonus. So for those who join us in Rock Your Next Release while we are on this workshop, you will get my Rock Your Next single release. And why this is helpful, because of course in the Rock Your Next Release program, we go through all of the release process. But this will be helpful for you if you're just right now ready to only release a single, or you just want a very, very narrow focus on, okay, how can I get this single out there? And how can I do that within the next 4 to 6 weeks? This is going to help you. You probably want to release a full album or EP down the line, and the full program will help you with that. But having this in your back pocket will help you get started. So all of this, when you look at everything that you get with the Rock Your Next Release program, and you have full lifetime access in the Rock Your Next Release training, the guest experts, the 7-month social media and email plan, the complete booking and follow-up system, the done for you systems for PR and Spotify playlists, all that stuff, monthly live calls with me, and that fast action bonus Rock Your Next single release, the total value is $4,979. But Rock Your Next Release is priced at $497. That's because I know that you have so many expenses around your release already, right? I mean, recording itself is not cheap. Hope, maybe you found a way to cut costs in that area, but it's daunting, all the costs around a release. So I wanted to make sure that this was super affordable for you and could be that tool that is really going to help you have the most success with your release, and to be able to do it in a DIY way without being able to having to spend so much money on, bringing in contractors for, say, like hiring someone for 3,000 to 5,000 for PR, or, hiring a playlist plugger for Spotify that probably won't even get you any decent playlists. So this is going to give you everything you need to be able to do it on your own and not have to spend all of that money. And, I made it super affordable so you can fit it into your release budget. If the $497 is a little much right now, you can get started for just $197 on our 3-pay payment plan. So just a reminder, Camille, she realized that she wanted to make the most of her release. So she moved her release date so she could really follow the Rock Your Next Release framework. And Karen, she attracted someone to pay for her entire release with her professional plan. And Sarah, she realized that she was able to not miss out on important opportunities because she had this system with her. And Gia felt so comfortable in knowing exactly what she needed to do when, and everything on a schedule, that she just was able to sail through her. I had my assistant make a real quick video just to kind of scroll through and show you how much is involved in this program. It is very, very jam-packed with content. And like I said, we've got checklists for every month. So wherever you are, you can pull out that checklist and make sure that you've done everything on it. We also have a complete project checklist of everything. So if you prefer to work like that, like this is the entire project and it's literally like almost 200 items, right? But it's over like a year. So if you like that, that's great. If that overwhelms the heck out of you and you don't want to look at all of that at once, then just look at the monthly checklists. I tried to build this for people, that would work the best for the way that you like to work. So I am going to start this timer. For those who want that fast action bonus, as well as this program for just $497 or 3 payments, you'll need to grab it within this 15 minutes to get that bonus, because this bonus is $197 value and it's being sold separately. So this is a really, really great bonus, and I want to make sure if you want it that you get it. So we've got a 15-minute timer that I'm going to start right now, and I'm going to answer questions while the timer is going on. So I'm sure that Carlene has seen a whole bunch of questions in the chat and Q&A box.
I've actually written them down in case I lost
my voice is tired, so.
Yeah, I bet. There are just a few questions at the end here. I'm interested but not ready yet. Are the bonuses still available if I buy it in the future? I missed the cost. Can you go over it again? But you are going to send a replay.
Yeah,
right?
there will be a replay, so you can absolutely go back and watch it again. As far as the bonuses, I can't guarantee that this bonus will be available at a later time. So, and this on-demand bonus here for people that are at the webinar live, that will not be available after this timer ends. So, because it's such a valuable bonus. The other bonuses are available for the next 5 days, I believe it is. So you'll see in the email how much longer you have to get those bonuses. But this one is only available on this workshop right now.
Okay. This has to do with how long between single releases.
So in my framework, I suggest 1 month between single releases. And here's why. And I get a lot of questions of like, can I just release every single song on my album as a single and then release the album? And I'm like, sure you can. But here's why I suggest 3. To me, 3 is kind of the sweet spot. It really ramps it up toward that full release. But if you release every single one, you're going to totally burn out. Or you're not going to do any of them justice because you're trying to spread yourself too thin. I feel like really doing 3 singles justice, and when I mean justice, I mean like trying to get some PR specifically for those singles, getting them on blogs and podcasts and other places where people will discover them. Really making some content around those singles specifically, doing a story behind the song video, maybe doing an acoustic version of it, you know, finding different ways to make the promotion of that single interesting. You can do that over a month, and then you can go to another song, and then you can go to another song. But after 3, if you've really been doing it hard, you're probably pretty burnt out. And I don't want you to be burnt out for your full release if you did that for, say, 12 songs in a row. So that's kind of why I came up with that 3, and I believe it's a sweet spot.
Good. And then a couple other singles questions. Can I get my raw song recorded and released to Spotify quickly?
Raw song, you mean it's not mixed at all, is my guess.
Yeah.
Well, there are plenty of people that will engineer your song online. So you absolutely can. I recommend Air Gigs for looking for help with that. If you need people, you know, players on your song, if you need an engineer on your song, if you're looking for mastering, that could be a really great place to find gig workers to do that for you. So airgigs.com. So you just have to find the right people to do it. And it will take you a few weeks to get it live. So once you have your mix, and make sure that it's good, like don't just rush it out there. Make sure that it's good and it's mastered and all that stuff. The mix is good. It's going to sound professional. And then put it up there by using a distributor. So you can't go directly to Spotify. You've got to use a distributor like CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid. What is the other one that I was thinking of? There's a bunch of them, and there's different reasons to use either. So you kind of have to do your research, but you do need to use a distributor, and it takes them a bit to get it going. So you kind of put your release date that you want in there, and you make sure that you've got, like I said, at least 1 week, probably 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks ahead to get it up in there. So it's ready to go, because you can't control how fast they get it on the platforms.
And then I had asked this question earlier, but maybe I misunderstood the question. When you had said when you release a single, they might stream it and then download it later. But what I don't understand is how you prevent people from downloading the single in the first place for free. I don't really understand the question, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, where are you putting it? If you're putting it on Spotify, you know, people can stream it anytime they want. Right?
Rebecca,
That's just the world we live in. If you're really determined on selling downloads, I suppose you could not put it on streaming services, but I really don't recommend that. I think this is the world we live in. I get that, you know, it's frustrating that we don't think artists get paid enough from streaming services and all of that, but we do need to be realistic and be like, this is where we live now. So let's take advantage of the good things that streaming does for us. And that's what I mentioned earlier about how Spotify will serve up your song. If anyone's ever listened to your music or followed you in any way, when you have a new song out, it will serve it up to them. It'll put it on their release radar. It'll put it on their Discover Weekly. It will even send an email out sometimes about your song. So we can take advantage of that algorithm and what they're trying to do to give people the music that they like, and that serves us. So I wouldn't ignore streaming services because you're just trying to, you know, get as many downloads as possible.
Okay. And Mary just right now asked if people sign up for the option of 3 payments for the package, does the bonus for singles release?
It absolutely does. So good question, either one, either full pay or 3 pay, you get that bonus if you sign up during this workshop. So if you want that, definitely go do it. If there's any questions about, so occasionally we have issues with Teachable. So what you'll do is you'll go to the page at rockyournextrelease.com/buy now. And then you scroll to the bottom and click on whether you want the payment plan or the full pay. And then it will take you to our Teachable checkout page. Now, if you have a Teachable account with us, like for example, if you've bought anything from us in the past, it will know, and it will want you to put in your password. Now, if you've forgotten your password because you bought something from us 5 years ago, You will have to just ask to reset your password. We can't find your password. It won't let us. It's a privacy thing. So just go ahead and reset your password and then it will let you in and you can go ahead and buy then.
Okay. And Rebecca just repeated, I think Rebecca, it might be best to just watch the replay. She said she has no problem with streaming for free, but maybe I misunderstood what you said at the first step. I'm not talking about Spotify. That's what I couldn't understand in the wording you said.
I mean, I may have mentioned downloads because people still say that they get sales from, say, people
I do.
downloading from iTunes, but those are paid downloads.
Oh,
Now it's up to you if you want to offer something that you have for free. Like if you want to offer your new single in return for someone's email address, then you are getting currency. You're getting their email address. So that's one way that you can use singles if you want to.
okay. Will the program help to get a website platform?
I do talk about websites, but I just always recommend using, if you need an actual website, use Bandzoogle. They're the best for musicians.
Agreed.
And use our promo code WOS15 and you get 15% off. If you choose them, you can try them out for free for 30 days with that promo code as well. So that's just my easiest answer is Bandzoogle is the best for musicians. Just use that. And you should have a website. Like if you're releasing music, they need a place to find and connect with you other than Spotify or social media because you don't own those.
And I sell downloads on my website, the Bandzoogle site. So people go on there and they find them and they buy it, download. We have the Judy, the single release bonus is listed. It was the last one, right? She said
yes,
the bonus on the site.
So it's not on the sales page because of the fact that it's a webinar only bonus. So if you go to the sales page and it's not on there, that's why. But if you buy during the webinar, you'll get it. I promise.
Good answer. A couple of questions about Bandcamp came up.
Yeah, you can release music on Bandcamp if you want to. It's more of a way to sell directly to your fans if you prefer to sell. It's kind of an alternative to selling on your website.
Yeah, it says we can do live streams now and make comments as you perform on Bandcamp. And
I didn't even know they were doing live streams now. That's awesome. That's great that Bandcamp is a real supporter of musicians. So I really like them as well. It's just that they duplicate a lot of things that Bandzoogle does. So I always recommend Bandzoogle.
Oh my, hang on, let me get a couple of the other quick ones done. What is bundle merch?
Bundles are, let's say you have, let's use my student as an example. She had a tea towel with her lyrics on it. She had a slap band and she had a CD of her complete works and her new CD. And she bundled them together. It's like a super fan bundle and she sold it for, I don't know, $60, $70. And people were buying them because people love bundles, or they may not necessarily just want to buy the CD, but if they want the merch that you have, then they will buy that because they want to support you.
Great. And can I pay with PayPal?
I believe that you can pay with PayPal if you don't choose the payment plan. I believe that's how Teachable works.
Oh, okay.
I think it only allows full pay with PayPal.
All right. And does CD Baby take a percentage of publishing? I can't even remember.
No, I would not. They do not if you don't allow them to be your publisher. So don't click the box that says make CD Baby my publisher because you want to retain your publishing rights.
Okay.
The only reason they do that is if you want them to try to get licensing deals for you, then you can ask them to be your publisher, but I don't recommend it.
Good answer. And Mike asked how often he's worried about spam and his whole email database. And so how often can you email them without worrying about spam?
I recommend emailing people at least once a week during a push like you're releasing, especially when you release your album or EP. I would definitely email them several times. I mean, you guys, if you're on my list, you know that I email probably 3 times a week because there's a lot going on that I don't want you to miss. And generally, I don't get classified as spam. As long as you're releasing something helpful and that people like it.
Yes.
Another way to stay out of the spam folder is ask people to respond to your emails every once in a while. I know Carlene gets this. She gets people writing back, saying stuff about her concert or telling them, talking about a story that she told. And that really does help. They see, oh, this email is valuable because people are responding to it.
Yeah, it does. Definitely helps. And then we have a couple of COVID questions. Here's a long one. My album was to be launched June 6th in Toronto. The CDs were going to be shipped April 19th, but everything shut down in mid-March due to COVID. We never got the CDs. The venue closed. There were a number of COVID questions. I released the first single in June, and then my manager had a car crash. I've released 2 more singles. I go live to learn sound and MIDI ropes. I'm not good yet. I'm finally ready to stop and follow the plan. You have any suggestions as to where I start in the full plan?
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure I followed all of that, but you have your recording, right? That sounds like you have your recording. So you would start in the full plan after the section where you're getting your recording. So it's really, I would go back and make sure that you've done all the things in the previous months that don't have to do with recording, like, starting your booking research and all that stuff. But you've got your recording, so you can almost start in like 7 or 6 months out, getting all the other pieces in place.
Does the course involve or include booking post-COVID?
Booking post-COVID. Yeah, I realize that things are different. I truly believe we are on the cusp of things going back. It's not going to be the same. So I just had a student who's in Australia, and things are opening up a little bit there. So she was able to really do a tour. It didn't look like it used to, right? The venue capacity was a lot lower. Sometimes she had to do multiple shows to get more people in on the same day, but she still did it, and she did well, and she sold merch and she made money, and so I believe it's coming back. I don't think that there's any specific post-COVID strategies that are different, other than the fact that there may be fewer venues that are booking right now. So it may just be like getting back on the horse and getting out there and seeing what's available at this point, because the landscape has changed. I mean, let's be honest. But I don't think that booking in itself has changed. My student just proved that by booking an entire tour and executing it even during this time. So it's coming back, I promise. I did want to let you guys know, I know that I only gave you 15 minutes, and if you had any issues with Teachable, maybe you had to get your password or whatever, just let us know by email. Say, hey, I tried to get in, but I had this problem. We'll make sure that you get your bonuses. Okay. We'll make sure you get the extra bonus.
Do you want to do one sort of summary question?
I am happy to do any more. Last time I did this webinar, I literally stayed for an hour with extra questions. I'm hoping it's not that many this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions that people have.
This is a little bit of a summary. Do you agree that you need a combination of releasing on CD and streaming, merch and touring, and online performances, online lives, to get going as an independent musician today?
I do. I believe that as many of those things that you can do without being overwhelmed in the process, I think those are all really, really important. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to welcome all these new people. Anyone else, if you had any trouble with the website, just let us know. If you still want to get that bonus, I will extend it for the next few minutes for sure, as we're still here. But I want to welcome, let's see, Kristen and Carlos and Angelica and Mariana and Catherine and Judy B. Great to have all of you guys.
I think it was Carlos who said this is the second time he's watched this live and he just signed up.
That's so awesome, Carlos. Are you the same Carlos that was just in my boot camp? If you are, you are awesome. If you're not, you're also awesome. But
Carlos Castro.
yes, that is you. So glad you're going to be in the Rock Your Next Release program.
That's me. Someone asked, do you cover copywriting and dealing with legal issues?
I do talk about that. I am definitely not a lawyer. I don't want to give advice on that, but I do talk about it and let you know when it's important to do it. And I also go over contracts and give you a resource for that to make sure that you've got contracts in place when you're in the studio, which is something that is often an afterthought and can get you in trouble. You don't want your producer trying to claim some of your masters or some of your writing credit. You got to get all that stuff in order before you go into the studio. And then, contracts for side musicians and all that as well. So I definitely do have a section about that.
Okay. And how many physical CDs would you create these days?
That's a great question. I probably would do a low run, like a 200, like whatever made sense price point wise, depending on what they're offering. How have you been doing it, Carlene? I know you're about to release an EP. What are you thinking?
The EP thing is new to me, so I don't know how. Probably like you said, the lowest, where there's enough of a price break to make sense.
It depends on if you're like planning a big tour. I would definitely get more, because I do think, especially at live performances, people are still buying CDs, especially if you've got some enticing bundles. So that would make a difference.
And I want to throw in a suggestion, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I had a huge CD release party that was free. And I think I had like over 100 people there, and I sold 2 CDs. But what happened was the woman that was going to do the merch.
I remember this.
She started talking to people and she kind of wandered off. And I was swamped with people. And that when I got finally to the table, I was able to sell like 3 or 4 CDs. But, then people kept talking to me, and then it was kind of like I hardly sold anything. So
I remember this discussion, and we talked about, training your volunteers and making sure they knew what was their responsibility and stuff. That's a great point.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to be open to be able to talk to people, to be able to sign things, and you want people that are going to be responsible and stay at the table. And I would probably have 2 people at the table. One that's taking cash and one that's taking credit card or something like that.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we'll try it again someday.
I'm so excited, Tina, that you joined.
Now,
it's going to be really fun to do these live calls with all of you guys too and get to know you.
Is there a physical product or just online? Judy wants to know, how many webinars do you do and how much can we benefit from this? I don't understand the question either. Is there a physical product?
Is there a physical product would be maybe you mean the course, like, is there a book or something like that comes with it? No, it's an online course. It's on Teachable. There are, as I mentioned, templates and spreadsheets that you will be able to download and access on whatever platform, if you prefer Google, or if you prefer like Office. I think I have both the Excel versions and the Sheets versions there that you can use for the different spreadsheets that I created for you. So those are really the downloadables, but all the training and everything is on the Teachable platform. And also we've got downloadable, printable PDFs for the monthly checklists.
And Ivy, I think she asked this before, and Ivy, I was going to get to it. For a single release, is it smart to plan to promote 4 weeks before the launch date? 6 to 8 weeks was the standard for press. But due to the COVID season, what do you suggest?
So for a single release, I think what you're asking about planning. And to me, doing the planning months in advance is the best way to do it. because that involves a lot of research. If you do all of your research, then when you get there, it's really easy to just start reaching out to people, whether it's for bookings, whether it's for marketing, trying to get some PR for your single, all that stuff. If you've already done all the research of who you want to talk to and you've just got it all at your fingertips, it's really easy to do when the time comes. So, with the singles, like you'll have already done all the research. So as soon as that single comes out, as it's released, then you just start going after it. You start contacting, potential playlist curators for Spotify or potential people that might want to interview you about the particular song or trying to get, on blogs or podcasts with your song.
Okay. Miranda is saying, I have a Bandzoogle website, yay, but I need to hire someone to help me add to it. It's just basic right now. How do I find someone reputable to help with it? Bandzoogle has chat assistants, but I am not tech savvy and I need to hire someone. Any suggestions?
I do. If you could email me, I can give you a suggestion. It depends on how much you're willing to spend, really. Like, are you looking for someone who's $20 an hour? Or are you looking for someone that's going to do like design and stuff like that for you and branding? So I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So you can email me with that question. I can refer you to someone specific.
Miranda, I'm like you too, not that tech savvy, but I really need to sit down and watch their videos. But I have a decent site. It came out okay. But it's like, I haven't changed really anything on it because I'm kind of scared to. But it's,
I know it is kind of scary to change your template because you don't know what's going to do to your stuff. But yeah, they will help you. If you change your template and you hate it, they'll help you get it back because I know someone that did that.
Yeah, they've done that for me on a few of my screws. Are there going to be replays of the course in case I'm working?
So yeah, so if you're talking about the live once a month call, yes, there's always a replay. That right now is scheduled for the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I realize that might not work well for European people. We might have to switch it up occasionally, but that just happens to be what I have in my schedule. And as far as the course itself, like none of the rest of the course is live. It's all available there for you. Those calls once a month are just to answer specific questions that you might have or things that are getting you stuck or, confusion or anything. And a way for me to get to know you guys.
Lillian says, how much money would someone realistically invest in a 6-song EP? Considering studio mixing, etc., what would be a common amount to invest in this kind of project prior to any profit after the publication of it?
I mean, depending on where you're recording, if you have any special deals or anything, I mean, I would say it might cost you like $5,000 to record it at a studio. And then there's other costs, right? There's whatever your branding, your photo shoot, your you have to pay to distribute digitally. You have to pay for CDs that you're going to make. Depending on if you're doing all originals, you might have to pay other songwriters. There's a lot of things involved, but you could probably do that whole thing for, I don't know, $7,000. That's just a random number, right?
It might just depend if you don't mind. I have a studio guy that charges $60 an hour and he's a piano player. So he doesn't care what he does. He'll do the piano too as part of
it. It totally depends on the people that you find and the deals that you're able to get. And, you might find an online studio that you really like and you're able to record your own vocals from home and upload them. Like there's so many different ways to do it now.
On an iPhone, by the way. One of my best vocals came out recording it on
so
iPhone.
Crazy. I would have said no way to that one. So that's so interesting.
Yeah, Steady As She Goes came out. It was so beautiful. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, but it does just depend. But it's better if you have, especially if you need a band and stuff like that, and a lot of instruments, it gets much more pricey.
Is there a guarantee on your system? Generally, I only offer like a 14-day guarantee because there is so many deliverables in there that you know, it's just not really fair to like let you have it and then be like, no, I don't want this. So, but I'm a reasonable person. So you can email if you've got any questions about that. But yeah, we don't have a published guarantee. So it's definitely not beyond 14 days.
And then
That'll give you plenty of time to go and figure out if it's really for you or not. But I think we've done a really good job of explaining what's in the course.
someone has been disagreeing with you, too many emails. So she doesn't email her fan base more than once a week because she doesn't want them to get fed up. You have sent me so many emails that I feel under pressure and overwhelmed. However, I'm here now. What are your thoughts?
However, I'm here now. I love that. I'm so glad that you said that. Because yes, if I hadn't have emailed you about this, you might not have showed up. So yeah, I think with musicians and fans, I think it's absolutely great to email once a week. I get a lot of pushback on that because I say once a week and other people are like, no, I only want to do it once a month because I don't want to bother them. But then it's like, then you're not front of mind for them. They'll forget about you. So I think once a month in general, I mean, once a week in general is perfect. And then if something big is happening, you know, if you're doing a release and you're only doing that like once a year, then I think they'll live with it if you send 3 emails in a week for that. They want to know about it. Especially if, you know, one of them is about your live release party and one of them is about the song is out on Spotify, go follow. You know, they're all different. You're not sending an email about the same thing.
Okay. Oh, look we have a question and an answer. Do you have the name of an online studio? Rochelle, I'm just going to ask that question first because Rebecca says, I know an incredible drummer who does your tracks online for 150 pounds, and he worked with Nina Simone for 20 years. There are affordable ways of recording even during COVID, and that person's Paul Robeson drummer online. Oops, sorry, Bree, I accidentally posted that in the question area. That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm trying to go back and forth.
Yeah, so, no, that's awesome. And like I said, Air Gigs is a great place to find people like that as well.
Oh, good. Okay. And then the other part is what microphone would you recommend for recording your voice at home?
Well, I love my Rode microphone, which I have right here. I actually put it, if you're on my email list, I put it into the holiday gift guide for musicians because I love it so much. But it is a well, I think it was on sale when I saw it, but it's like a $300 to $400 microphone. But I've used it for literally 20 years. I've recorded all my albums on it except the one I did in a studio, and it's been amazing. So that's it's the Rode NT microphone, condenser mic.
I have the same one and I love it.
Oh, you have it too. I must have told everybody about it because like Beth has it. You know, a lot of people have it.
And I think we're done with questions.
Awesome. By the way, thank you to, I think it was Rebecca who said brilliant masterclass. I appreciate that.
Oh, that was nice. Peluso mics, Tina recommends.
I mean, there's a lot of good mics out there for sure. I just know the one that I like because it's been such a workhorse for me.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, I wanted to welcome Mary. Great to have you in the program as well.
One new. Do you recommend a site that is best for creating merch? I think Sarah might have asked that before. I'm sorry, Sarah. She did. T-shirts and cups and.
Yeah, there's Cafe Press. There's like a lot of them now. I should probably, if that's like a question that people have, I should probably source that out with some people and decide what the best ones are. I should actually ask my Academy members which ones they like. Do you have one that you like, or have you done local, Carlene?
I've done local.
Yeah.
When
a lot of people do local.
Yeah,
probably
I don't
because
do much
they want to like support local, and also sometimes it's easier. But I know Cafe Press is one that you can use.
Are all your references US based?
What do you mean by references?
You know, I'm guessing like Bandzoogle and, you know.
Well, Bandzoogle is totally international.
Elena, do you know, can you tell us more what you mean?
All my international students have used this program, and I haven't heard anything from any of them. Now I get what you're saying about like, if I talk about copyright so yes, when I talk about copyright, I give the link to the US copyright because that's the one I know about. When I talk about, performing rights organizations, I mention the ones in the US. I also mention ones in other countries because at least the English speaking countries that are most common.
Sarah says there are many that are online though, and would be easy to set up with your site directly. It'd be good to research it. And she's going to do the same.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we've answered all of the questions. And before I lose my voice, because I actually was on 2 other calls earlier today, so my voice is...
Wait, one more, because this is about the course. Is the Rock Your Single release under another heading? And Bree, I'll answer it for you, Bree, to save your voice. I think I got this right. It's listed on this webinar, but it's not on the regular.
I think they're asking about inside of Teachable. So yes, it will be it's a totally separate course. So those of you that bought during this workshop will get it. It hasn't been added yet. I have to go in there and actually physically add it for you. So you'll have it in like an hour. And all you need to do is go to the tab at the top that says, once you've logged in, go to the tab at the top that says My Courses and click on that, and it will show you both of them once they're both in there. One says Rock Your Next Release, one says Rock Your Next Single Release. Fantastic. I'm so excited. So for those of you that were watching the replay or just weren't sure if you wanted to join yet, all those other bonuses that I mentioned during the workshop and that are on the sales page are available for the next 5 days until we close it, and you'll get emails about that. Sorry about sending you several emails for whoever was talking about that, but I do want to make sure that you know about it and that you can grab that while you still can. Yeah. So those will be available for the next, I believe it's 5 days.
And you don't have to open every one of the emails either. That's what I find. My people don't all do that, but I don't get to them too often. I'm cautious about it too. Just 2 other questions. You want to take them, Bree?
Sure.
What's Teachable?
Teachable is the platform that we use to house our courses.
And we use that actually at the University of Florida where I teach.
So what you'll see when you go in there, it will say Profitable Musician is the name of our academy there. So that's what you'll see is Profitable Musician, but Teachable is the kind of the platform for it that houses it.
And last one, do you feel there are many hobbyist musicians like myself who want to get published on Spotify?
Absolutely. I think that if you're a hobbyist musician, but you feel very strongly that you want your music to be heard, I mean, why wouldn't you, right? You're putting a lot of work into it. You love your music. You should be on Spotify and you should be releasing music. And this is not just for musicians that are full-time musicians. This is not just for musicians who want to make even income from music. This is for musicians who want to get their music heard and want to be able to continue to make more music. So they want to use their release to generate fans and income for themselves so they can keep perpetuating their music career. Hopefully that answered your question. All right, you guys, this has been so fun. So glad you came live. The replay will come out tomorrow, so you can watch for that in your email if you want to go back and watch any additional parts of this again. Or for those that are watching the replay, glad you watched the replay. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in your inbox.
Bye.
Bye.